things are quite noisy in 2410. Things are noisy now in society, but in 2410, things are a lot noisier. But also there is a lot more calm. There are much more extremes, let's put it that way, where you have extreme busy areas, even more extreme than now. But then you have areas that are actually almost very similar to what it was like in your second incarnation here on Earth, where almost you would feel like a city would never even exist on this planet because it's so peaceful. And it has been created that way due to the humans who are inhabiting the planet at that time. You're going to have humans that are connected to the earth and work with the rhythms of the earth and utilize all of these energies in a cohesive whole. And those people are going to be able to accomplish a great deal. And then you are going to have the people in the congested cities who can also accomplish a great deal, but are going to be less connected to the earth. They're going to be less connected to themselves. They are still souls that are evolving and that are needing to evolve. But the agreement that has happened in this particular time is that the ascended ones are able to live their lives with the technology that they want to carry with them, but then also live in relative peace outside of the insane noise that the cities offer. Welcome to the Akashic Recordings. My name is Annette DeLu. I'm an Akashic conduit, channel, and spiritual guidance coach. What you will be hearing today is a real session with one of my clients. All the names have been changed for privacy, and of course, with their permission, we are privileged to hear these beautiful stories to allow us a small glimpse into the Akashic Records. If you would like to book a session with me and be part of the podcast, please feel free to head to my website at infinitesoullove.com. When you book your session, just make sure to check the box that you would be interested in having your session utilized for the podcast. For those of you who really wanted to sign up for Soul Discovery Workshop, I have great news for you. You can head to my website, and on the homepage, if you go to the little box that describes Soul Discovery Workshop, there is a button there that says sign up for the wait list. So if you want to be in the know and want to be the very first one to sign up for the next session of Soul Discovery Workshop online, feel free to head to my website at infinitesoullove.com. Go to that homepage, click sign up for the wait list, and send your email, phone number, as well as your first and last name. And I will make sure you get that registration email as soon as the next course is ready to launch. In addition, you will get a discount code for the early bird sign up. So if you are interested, head over there now. In this fascinating session, I connect with Bernadette. She's a soul who incarnates non-linearly. And this means that she can incarnate anywhere on the timeline of her soul. We recognize and identify a particular lifetime she had in the year 2410, and then we go all the way back to a prehistoric life. This is a fascinating trajectory because it gives us a glimpse into what it is like to jump around in our timeline, so to speak. In the discussion, I talk a little bit about this subject and how we can incarnate in different places on our timeline, that we don't always incarnate in chronological order. We access an experience she also had as a child. This was an experience that she had while she was opening portals, which is part of her soul purpose. And she let in some unsavory energies that created a lasting impression. Tell me what's been going on.
Oh, a lot.
Yeah? All right, fill me in.
Yeah, I have been listening to your podcast. I really enjoy it a lot. And I found it because I took an Akashic class. It's been fun hearing you do the session. So I really appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
It's a challenge to narrow it down, But I think what I want to look at is where I am now moving forward. I'm a very young 70-year-old, and I'm in the process of transitioning from 30 years in corporate to an energy practice, to Reiki healing practice. And I've been learning some other modalities as well. I've just been taking a look at my life because I figure, by the time I get to this age, you're supposed to be old and wise and know it all. And you kind of doesn't work that way. It doesn't just happen. So what I've been looking at is how I've always felt different and separate, even from my family when I was growing up. I have very few memories of my childhood and feel like I kind of went through life, just doing what I was told and being the good girl. Have not had ever a good relationship and have been 10 years out of a 20-year marriage. That was not a good marriage at all. So it was very traumatic. Yet I'm always very numb to that. I just write it out and get through it. I think I am a lot stronger than I give myself credit to get on the other side of some things I've had to get on the other side of. I'm very curious about whether there's been trauma in my life as a child. I'm pretty sure there's been trauma in past lives. I've had some dreams about it and had an instance in a craniosacral session where there was just some intense emotion and fear and pain and all, but never got beyond something happened, but not knowing exactly what it was. It's been just kind of bothering me for my life. I have 2 children, both of them, I love very dearly. One of them I'm very concerned about. I'm pulling myself out of being codependent with him. He was into drugs for a while and had to go into rehab. He almost died. So I worry about him. But he's a grown up now, and I'm really trying to pull away from just my codependency on him.
Sure.
Would love to find a way to break through the fears, the imposter syndrome. I feel like there's a veil that I see glimpses through, but getting to the other side of that is challenging. And, I'd like to see it happen in this lifetime. I'd love to know what my soul purpose is in this lifetime and overall what it is. I guess I'll stop there unless anything else comes up.
Well, and if there is anything that's super important, the guides will tell me.
Okay.
All right. Wonderful. One of the things that I want to ask you, and the guides can kind of tell us as well, if this is something that you need to do you feel like whatever this trauma was as a child, do you feel like you need to know what it is?
I don't know if it's wise for me to know or what good it will do, but for me, part of my issue is that I've just gloss over everything and just like it's okay, and something really bad happens to me and I make excuses for it. For me, it would be a kind of confirmation about the type of life I ended up living and the people that I picked to be in my life and all. I don't know if it would be horrifically harmful for me to know. I guess ever since this came up, I've had readings before, some readings, not Akashic, but I've been told you don't really need to know, or it wasn't really that bad, or, I don't know. It's my life that it affected, and I kind of would like to have an answer if it's there.
We will certainly dive into that. I feel like where we're probably going to go first is your soul purpose, because there is a reason why you seem to be glossing over all of these things that happen, like all of the sort of really challenging things that have happened in your life that you're able to sort of like glide right through. I have a feeling that it has something to do with your soul purpose, because it doesn't feel to me like this is a spiritual bypassing or that you're just ignoring what happened. It does feel like it's something that you're moving through rather than avoiding. If you were avoiding all of those things, it would manifest in particular ways in your physical body and things like that. I feel like what we're going to do is dive into the soul purpose first, and then we'll see where we need to go from there. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Today we are opening up the Akashic Records. Thank you. Okay. So how many lifetimes do we need to look at for soul purpose, please? They're saying we're going to look at 6 different lifetimes. They're just like little snippets of each lifetime though. Okay. Let's take a look at the first one, please. The first thing I'm seeing is you're an older woman and you have a long sort of skirt / dress and then apron, and you're sitting on a stool and you're moving the fabric of your skirt sort of almost like hiding something. And I don't know what you're hiding. Your legs are almost spread out, but then you have like the folds of your skirt like folding over each other and you're hiding something. And you're doing something with your foot as well.
Angels, can you please give me some indication as to what she is doing here? I don't really understand it. The fact of what she is doing is almost unimportant. This is part of what she was doing for a living at this time. It had to do with livestock, but then it also had to do with fabric and textiles. What she was hiding was actually a bit of wool that she decided to procure for herself. The people she was working for were not particularly generous, and she needed wool to be able to make some clothes that were warmer for herself and for her children. Okay, got it. I'm seeing you would shear the sheep, you would take the wool, you would spin it into thread, kind of like start to finish. You would also dye it. But interestingly enough, you didn't know how to knit. It's something that you never learned how to do. So you had to actually give the textiles to somebody else you knew who knew how to knit to make some things for your children and for you. You didn't have a husband in this lifetime. He had died early on. You feel a bit lost. There aren't any aspirations you have. You don't have any joy or any sort of energy that is pulling you towards something that is energetically aligned or joyful. You're just going through the motions. You're not seeing the point of this existence. You do the same thing day in and day out. And when you don't, there's suffering. In other words, when you're not working, you know that it will be difficult to put food on the table, or it will be difficult to get wood for the stove. You feel sort of caught or trapped in this cycle, and you don't know what kind of energy you can give to your children that is joyful or fun, because mostly you're just exhausted by the time you come home from work. Your eldest son is the one that sort of takes care of everybody while you're gone. He makes sure that the other kids have done their lessons, their chores, their cleaning. Okay. This little snippet of this lifetime, the guides are saying to me that this is a place in which you had lost your way and you didn't know which direction you were going in. And it was the lifetime in which you were sort of the most disconnected from your soul and from your intuition. There was a lot of sadness in this lifetime. You never did get over the death of your husband because you did love him deeply. Okay. Then let's take a look at the next lifetime, please. We're going back to the beginning. Okay. Is this her first incarnation on Earth? Yes. Okay. I should say your first human incarnation. You had been incarnated on this planet as other things before you were human, but this is your first human incarnation. The energy that I'm getting is that you were joyful in just being incarnated here on Earth in this first incarnation. Being able to experience the bright colors, the warmth, the tastes, the smells, like all of the senses was just magical to you. Everything was new. Everything was beautiful and magical to experience. You couldn't wait to experience everything you possibly could as this human form. You're touching all the textures. I'm seeing you like pet a dog or a cat or some form of animal and just feeling the difference in the textures of their fur, touching a leaf and feeling the smooth shininess of one leaf, but then the sort of roughness of another. Feeling the textures of each individual thing in your experience is something that really, I'm hearing, like tantalized you into wanting to know more, wanting to feel more, what it feels like to be in that body, what it feels like to experience things in your body. At this time in this first incarnation, you hadn't really developed your soul purpose yet. This was just sort of a first lifetime to experience what it felt like to be here on Earth. But I'm seeing that touch was a very big part of your experience, because they keep on just showing me the textures, the different like softnesses of things. So you really did love to experience touch in some way. Okay, then let's go on to the next lifetime, please. Yeah, you really did sort of carry that with you throughout many lifetimes, which is working with your hands. That was something that always brought you much joy in each one of these incarnations. Like even the incarnation where you were sort of losing your feeling for what life was all about. When you were making the woolen yarn, you still loved doing things with your hands. Like that was still something that you really did like to do. Okay, so this next lifetime you were a man, and this is many, many lifetimes after your first incarnation. They're saying roughly 20. You did not incarnate in linear order. Well, that's interesting. It is possible for us to not incarnate in linear time. A lot of people do just because it's easier, but you did not. I'm seeing you jump around in timelines. You went from your first incarnation, which was more of a very primitive lifetime where there weren't a lot of modern amenities at all. It was just very tied to nature. And then this next lifetime, even though it was 20 lifetimes after that, was actually in a much more modern time. I'm hearing like 1700s, and I'm hearing that there were hundreds of thousands of years between those two lifetimes. The lifetime that you're in now, and the reason why you decided to incarnate non-linearly, is because it is part of what you are trying to accomplish here. It's part of your soul purpose. It's what you had decided upon as a soul purpose, as a soul, after the first couple of incarnations here on the planet. And this is based on what your soul is capable and what your soul excels at doing. And that is opening portals to not only other dimensions, but other times, to be able to allow information to flow through the universe. If you can imagine, there's a portal of energy where inventions could be transported, meaning that the information in the 1700s could technically be given to a civilization in 2000 BCE. What you have decided to do is allow these portals to be opened. Certain types of information can get disseminated to different times.
Am I conscious that I'm doing this at this time?
It is something your soul does. It's not something your human self has to do. They're going to show me this lifetime where you were the man in the 1700s and just see how this worked, actually. Hold on. So, for example, you would be able to open a portal. Let's say if you were playing the piano, and, beautiful song was coming out, and it was just something you were creating at that time. And that creative energy and that passion and that love and that heart-centeredness created the portal to be able to be open to wherever is open to receiving that information. You might be opening that portal to, let's say, a civilization that maybe didn't have instruments, but yet somebody might hear a song on the wind, a tune that maybe just kind of comes to them in some way, in which case they might decide to pick up a drum and play that. And they might be playing the tune that you just made up at the piano in the year 1700, and it is being transported into the past through a portal to someone who is not capable of having any sort of modern instruments, but is actually creating something to play whatever tune has come to them. This is how you create portals. It's through creation. It's through joy.
A nice image.
Yeah. You did decide to incarnate in various different places and different times for very specific reasons. You would be able to look at a timeline and identify the energetic discrepancies or deficiencies. And you would be able to say that in order for the energy to flow to this particular place, there does need to be a portal in that particular time to allow innovation, joy, happiness, that universal consciousness to start flowing through. Because there are times when that universal knowledge gets blocked by lower energies. And by lower energies, I speak of people and souls that are incarnated here on earth that pick up lower energies or create lower energies themselves, which can create that block to receiving these beautiful channels of energy. And you will see where these blockages are happening, and you will find another route for this energy to flow. Okay, let's take a look at the next lifetime if we don't need to look at anything else from this lifetime. No, we don't. We can go on to the next. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Because the energies are vastly different from time period to time period, it is a challenge for you sometimes, because as you stand now in the incarnation that you're in now, you have gone through many ascension processes. You have completed your ascension many times over. Each time you travel back in time to a new lifetime that is, let's say, in the past where the vibration of Earth is much lower, it is difficult for you to exist in that lower energy as you are in your much higher energy as you are now. Part of the reason why you feel other than or separate than others is mainly because you have gone through so many ascension processes. You've gone through all of the trials and tribulations that form the energy that creates growth. And while many people do this in a linear fashion, because you did not do this in a linear fashion, it forced you to face things in a much different way, in a way that most people haven't seen them. You can see perspectives that other people cannot. You can feel things that other people cannot, simply because of the trajectory that you've taken. This next lifetime, they're showing me you were having a really hard time in that particular way where everyone around you was in this lower energy and you felt like sort of the wise person who knew much more than everybody around you. And the things that they would squabble about, the things that they would ruminate about, you knew were just not important, and you couldn't understand why they couldn't just move past it. So many people were stuck in so many different things that you knew were completely unimportant in terms of the spiritual life. And yet the people that you were surrounded by were stuck in the physical 3D aspects of what was going on around them. They couldn't see beyond what was right in front of them. And you tried your best to help them see what is beyond that. But it was very difficult. You could not help them to see what they were not willing to see yet. This created a bit of loneliness within you because you felt like you were the only person on the planet who had these feelings, who responded this way to other humans, when in fact you weren't. There were other people like you. You just didn't happen to meet them in that particular lifetime. There are other souls that incarnate non-linearly, and there is always a reason for it. Okay. Is there anything else we need to see about that lifetime? No. Let's see what the next lifetime is, please. Okay. This next lifetime is actually far into the future. I'm seeing it's somewhere in the year 2410, and you have already incarnated in that particular year. And in some ways, your job is easier there. There are technologies that you have given to the present moment through portals. There are also other things that you've given to other timelines from that particular year specifically. There's something that happens specifically in that year that is a boom of innovation as it pertains to our soul connection to the universe. It is a particular year where the level up with Earth and her inhabitants is a symbiotic connection. We have a symbiotic connection with her now, but it's not as fluid and easy. It's almost as if we are responding to Earth's ascension ourselves as being inhabitants on Earth versus working with Earth and having that symbiotic connection. And in the year 2410, that is something that locks into place where humans and the Earth find a rhythm that is seamless. And that is something that you are trying to bring into the current moment as a soul.
The current moment now?
Yes.
Today? Promising.
They're saying to me that any of the Reiki energy that you are going to be utilizing is not just Reiki energy. It is universal consciousness as well as Reiki energy. It is knowledge. It is not just healing. It is taking all of the aspects of energy and almost combining them into one. This piece it's hard to describe because you have Reiki energy that is healing energy, and then you have destructive energy, and then you have energy that is innovation, and then you have energy that is pure divine love. If you can imagine all of these energies together, working seamlessly together, that is what you as a soul do. You take all of these experiences from all these different times and you try to create a cohesive whole in order for somebody or some place, depending on what incarnation you're in, can have a smooth and symbiotic experience with that cycle of energy. There is no change. There is no evolving. There is no ascension without destructive energy. That is all part of it. There is also no elevation without the love energy, without the innovation, without knowledge. It is all part of the same whole.
Has my soul been working to develop this cohesiveness of all the energy, or it's something that is in there that my soul is already doing?
It's an alchemy of sorts.
Okay.
It's like if, for example, you are going to be working on somebody and let's say their love energy is strong and maybe their Reiki energy is strong too. The healing energy is really strong, but they don't have the flow of the destructive energy, or they don't have the flow of the innovation energy, the creation energy. What you would end up doing would be helping that person connect to those energies that maybe they're lacking. Okay. So it's creating sort of a balance of all of the energies together and making sure that your client will be plugged into all of those energies.
Okay. And then that moves through portals?
Yes.
As helping my clients create it?
Your clients aren't necessarily creating it at that moment. it's almost like you're giving them the information. So you're giving them the energy of the information, so then they can create it themselves at a later time. So it's not like they're going to be creating it in real time. It's like you're giving them a space for a download to happen, for information to happen, and then they will create that energy themselves at some point. You are also a portal. Like you yourself are a portal.
So as I'm working with the energy, it spreads it where it needs to go.
Exactly. And then you're going to be pulling from all of your past lives, which is actually, this is part of the reason why you felt guided to take the Akashic Record training, was because you are going to be pulling from your own past lives in order to sort of alchemize the templates of all the different things that you've experienced to cater them to whoever it is that you're working on. Okay. They're saying don't think too hard about it because this is something that's going to come naturally to you. This is not something that you're going to have to wonder, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
This is just something that is going to happen. And I'm seeing as you start working on your clients, you're going to find different ways or different things that you need to do in order to give the client what they need. Maybe you might work with crystal grids for a particular client, but then maybe another client you wouldn't. Maybe you'll end up working with sound therapy to help balance some of these energies with some clients, but maybe some of the clients you won't. It's really going to just depend on what your intuition is telling you is called for. And by sound therapy, I don't mean that you actually have to go and take like more trainings. It's like that you would use like a sound bowl or a sound bar and create sound based on what is needed, but you would know intrinsically what that would be. And that brings us to what you had said about the imposter syndrome. Have you started working on clients yet?
Yes.
Do you have confidence in what you're doing when you are working with your clients?
Yes.
Where do you feel the doubts start creeping in?
My ability to sell myself to potential clients.
Okay.
To convince them that this is something that can help them, that I'm someone that can help them. And I feel like, maybe listening to too many podcasts is not a good thing. I feel like, these people out there, they know so much more than I do. However, I feel innately capable of doing this. I don't know in my heart for sure if I am, or I second guess myself. I guess that's more like it.
All of the things that you listen to and all of the information that you receive, it doesn't necessarily mean that that is your information that you are going to be utilizing for your practice. Yes, there are people out there that probably know other things than you do, but you know other things that other people don't. It's not necessarily that people are more advanced than you. It's that you have different information. And if there's anything that proves that, showing me that your soul has evolved to the point where you've had several ascension completions says to me that you are a master at what you do, and is part of the reason why they had me not even look at your chakras, because you don't need them cleared. You don't need to clear them. If you are in that space of being able to help others and you can believe in yourself that you can help others, then understanding that if you follow your intuition on marketing yourself, that the people who need your services will be drawn to you, and practice that in your receiving energy, knowing that people are drawn to you. You don't have to convince anyone. They will know it because they will feel it. They will feel that you have something that they need. Okay. Let's take a look at that last lifetime. I feel like they want to show that to me right now. Hold on. Okay. You went from that lifetime in 2410 to the second lifetime on this planet.
Wow.
That was like a very, very big jarring jump for you. Things are quite noisy in 2410. Things are noisy now in society, but in 2410, things are a lot noisier, but also there is a lot more calm. There are much more extremes, let's put it that way, where you have extreme busy areas, even more extreme than now. But then you have areas that are actually almost very similar to what it was like in your second incarnation here on Earth, where almost you would feel like a city would never even exist on this planet because it's so peaceful. And it has been created that way due to the humans who are inhabiting the planet at that time. You're going to have humans that are connected to the earth and work with the rhythms of the earth and utilize all of these energies in a cohesive whole. And those people are going to be able to accomplish a great deal. And then you are going to have the people in the congested cities who can also accomplish a great deal, but are going to be less connected to the earth. They're going to be less connected to themselves. They are still souls that are evolving and that are needing to evolve. But the agreement that has happened in this particular time is that the ascended ones are able to live their lives with the technology that they want to carry with them, but then also live in relative peace outside of the insane noise that the cities offer. It's almost as if the ascended ones and the ones who have yet to ascend are almost intrinsically in different places and separated.
Is this in 2410 or second lifetime?
Yeah, this is in 2410.
Okay.
There are still people on a regular basis that go through their ascension process in 2410, and maybe they will drop out of the insane noise of the cities and start coming to the places of peace to learn. And then they might go back to the city, and then they might go back to the places of peace, and they might be able to go back and forth from time to time until they have finally shed the need for the noise, the need for the bustle, the need for the hurrying, the rushing, all of the things that happen. And it's not to say that the ascended ones don't have beautiful amenities, museums, concerts, things to do, because they do, but it is just a more peaceful and loving place. And you incarnating in that second lifetime after being in 2410, you were able to see that, in fact, even though the earth was just as peaceful, that the humans living on the earth at the time were not even remotely connected in comparison to what they are in 2410. They felt they were connected, but it was more in a way that was paying homage or worshiping the goddess of the earth, as opposed to working with Mother Earth herself in a symbiotic way.
What timeline of the planet is this, since I tend to jump around?
The second lifetime that you incarnated in?
Yes. Is it more prehistoric?
It is. And actually, it's interesting because it is before your first lifetime. It is definitely more, as you said, prehistoric. There's not a whole lot of, anything going on in terms of like modern anything. I'm hearing you have fire. That's about it. You tried to get some of that information disseminated into the people that you were around at that time. Like, I'm seeing you stand with a whole bunch of people and having them put their hand on the earth and almost like feeling the vibration of the earth. Some people got it, some people didn't. You knew how to work with the rhythms of the earth as well. Like when she was at rest, when she was in upheaval or destructive mode, when she was in the energy of love. And sort of traveling to different places throughout the landmass you were on to work with the ebb and flow, what was going on within the earth. They're also showing me that this is actually where you learned how to create these portals almost in a translated way. So for example, some of the higher concepts that maybe you had in 2410 were not going to be concepts that could be received in this prehistoric time. The portal that you created, what it did was it took the information and almost translated it to something that would be able to be received in the prehistoric time, if that makes sense. And that's something that you also do for your clients, is that the information that you are giving them through your divine source energy connection is actually being translated into something that is applicable to them and that works for them. And it meets them where they are. So your clients could be any place they are on their journeys, and yet what you do for them is still going to be beneficial based on where they are. Yeah. Okay, cool. I know that was a lot. Can I just pause here and ask if you have any questions?
To digest it all. It's pretty fascinating. It makes a very interesting overall picture in my mind of my soul's purpose. I'm not sure what it means about multiple ascensions, reached multiple ascensions. What exactly does that mean?
The way that I like to describe it is that we come here on Earth as souls to experience different things in order to have different information. And that, in fact, changes our energy. It changes our soul energy. And in order to move through the ranks, if you will, of ascension is about creating new facets. So if you can imagine you're a diamond, and let's say you start off with 24 facets, and then as you go through your incarnations, maybe then you have 50, then maybe you have 70, then maybe you have 100, then maybe you have 1,000, right? Okay. So it's a refining. Each ascension process, if you think about it like graduating from high school, graduating from college, graduating from graduate school, that type of thing, right? It's like each level you ascend, is graduating to a new level. Okay.
Yeah.
That's where you start getting into ascended masters, archangels, seraphims, all kinds of like higher level beings often have gone through multiple ascension processes on this and many other planets. It is usually indicated that somebody who has gone through many ascension processes is a much more advanced soul, a higher level soul, which is why you can come here on Earth and experience difficult things and allow them to sort of wash off your back, so to speak. Okay. Because you're such a higher level soul, higher level being, your energy is high in frequency that the lower frequencies actually can't really even stick to you. Okay. You may have some of these lower frequencies sometimes stick around while you're incarnated, but after you cross over, then they just completely go away. They're never going to stick around. That is part of the reason why you have been able to go through a lot of these things and just sort of let them go.
Okay, that actually makes sense.
Yeah. One of the things that I would like you to do as you digest this information over the next several days is I would like you to just sit with the information. Don't try to figure it out. Don't try to think about it. Just let the information almost like wash over you like a warm blanket. Okay. Because in that way, you can just allow that information to integrate, and then your own messages are going to start coming in based on what we've discussed today. Okay.
Yeah. So is there a reason that, and back to what I said at the very beginning about my blockages and my, I feel like I'm living within some veil that needs to be cracked open and bring access. I don't know what I was waiting for that would come in for me, except some kind of enlightenment, I guess. But to me, it feels like I'm holding it off.
Where do you feel particularly stuck?
I feel like there's a sense of avoidance. There's a fear of what will happen if I let it all in.
Okay.
It feels a little bit in my heart and maybe my solar plexus and throat. Yeah, maybe it's overwhelming, a sense of overwhelm.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what, and this kind of explains it. And maybe sitting with it for a while will wash away some of the fear.
Let me take a look at where some of the fear can be coming from. Some of this fear is coming from a past life, or several past lives, in fact, where you didn't really understand your true path as a human and as a soul, and you kind of got lost a little bit. And the trepidation is in taking the next step and taking the next step, because you're like, I don't want to take the wrong step. I don't want to do the wrong thing. I don't want to end up in a place where I'm not meant to be. And that's where that overwhelm comes in, because when you are in places that you're not meant to be, you do get overwhelmed. But when you're in a place where you're locked into exactly where you're meant to be, everything flows and it feels really good. The lack of taking that step is simply because you're afraid of taking the wrong step, or the step that is not aligned for you. And they're saying to me that you already know in your heart what is the right step, because that right step always feels like love. That next step always feels like warmth and peace. That next step always feels aligned and right. And if you do feel an element of fear, you can talk to that fear and ask why it's there. Sometimes it's an aspect of just doing, of just doing what you are meant to do, allowing the things to come, even if you have fears or trepidations, still walking through that. And it will help you to gain more confidence as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually how I talk to myself through getting out of my situation with my ex, is just take a step and then take another step and then take another step and just kind of make myself walk.
Exactly.
Through the process and get on the other side of it. So I need to do that here.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And this isn't even as scary.
Right.
It's a little scary, but not as emotionally upsetting as that was.
Well, because part of that energy was, there was a destruction energy there, and then the walking into alignment, that in and of itself is difficult to walk through, right? Whereas with this is not a destructive energy. This is walking into your purpose, which is definitely more peaceful journey. I'm not going to say it's easy, because it's not necessarily easy. It's just a more peaceful transition, because we can go through transitions in many different ways. We go through transitions through destruction, or we go through transitions with both feet walking forward looking forward and understanding that the transition might be difficult, but saying, yes, I'm willing to do it anyway. I want to take a look at the childhood trauma you were speaking of. I want to take a look at that to see what it is we need to know about that. This is something that you are meant to know. You couldn't know prior to this moment. It wouldn't have made sense to you had you known prior to this moment. This happened to you several times throughout the course of your childhood, where your soul was opening various portals to different dimensions. And you let in energies that were lower energies that were, I'm hearing the word malefic. And those energies followed you for several days or several weeks. And in those weeks or days to follow, things would sort of go wrong in your experience. Whether you were by yourself or whether you were with your parents, it was something that like tainted what you did. You didn't know it was happening because you were still very young, even though you did understand who you were as a soul and who you were connected to. In each of these experiences, it's something that is almost like they're saying it's like a hazard of the job sometimes when you're able to connect to these portals and these other dimensions. Like sometimes you do connect to something that is not desirable, in which case you do typically close that portal. But when you were a child, you did this and it created some experiences that were less than ideal. And I am seeing 3 specific experiences at 3, 5, and 6. Whatever happened when you were 3 made you incredibly, incredibly scared. It terrified you. Were your parents together when you were young?
Yes.
Like I get the feeling like they didn't understand the feelings or emotions you were experiencing. They didn't understand how to handle you or how to do anything to help you.
That makes sense.
But there were moments where you were just like literally terrified, like screaming in terror. They didn't understand what was happening with you. Eventually, actually, some of your guardian angels stepped in and helped and got rid of whatever it was that had come in through the portal. And then I see you at peace afterwards. They're saying that the reason why you don't remember some of these things is because you were not meant to remember them, because it might have almost like set you back from doing what you're meant to do as a soul. You might have been like, yeah, screw that. I'm not going to open portals. That's dumb. You know, like
Really?
And I mean, and you know, that can happen sometimes. Like that happened to me when I was little. I was astral projecting when I was little, and I started messing with some things that I didn't understand. And I ended up in a place that was not great. And that was very scary. And at that point I was like, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm not doing that again. That's done, you know? And that's fine, because I don't think I'm really needing to astral travel in this lifetime. I don't think that's necessarily part of what I need to do. But like, we can have experiences like that as children and been like, oh yeah, that's scary. I don't want to do that again. You were not meant to remember because it would have impeded you to do the things that you came here to do.
Okay. Yeah. And then it created undue tension, or a lot of tension.
Yes.
Because I'm the firstborn. And my mother told me I used to cry a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe that was why.
Certainly. And they're saying that at age 5 and 6, it was sort of more of the same. I want to pause for a second, and I want you to put your hand on your heart, and I want to connect you to your own intuitive intelligence. And I want you to feel into what we just talked about. And does it feel like that was the missing piece, or the piece that you were looking for?
Yeah, I very well could have been. Because when I first came up and I brought it up to my family, I thought it was some sexual abuse from, when I was young that I had buried, and everyone was, got really upset. Actually, I just told my brother, and he ended up telling everyone else, because I didn't want to upset everyone. But I couldn't really ever get any farther than that. After hearing, about this journey of my soul, it does make sense. I think I can leave it. I'm good leaving it there.
I just want to check one more thing. I want to see if there was any sexual abuse in a previous lifetime just prior to that, because oftentimes when we are children, we still have that connection to our past lives, or in your case, the concurrent lives, or wherever your lifetime was before that. And sometimes we can really connect to the person that we were before when we're a child, and that can bring up some of those old wounds. Let me see if that lines up or not. Hold on. They're saying no. Oh, right. Because that's not something that can really happen with you, since you are the higher level being. Like all of those experiences that you experienced in the previous lifetime, the lifetime just before the one you got into in this lifetime, they were all sort of cleared away. The experiences that you did have, though, with these energies from the portals, it did feel like a violation, though, because they were attaching to you.
Yeah.
and they were just kind of following you wherever you went. And it felt like a violation of your body and your space, you know? And so that can be not only scary, but it can be disorienting from the standpoint of not feeling like you have control over the environment that your body is existing in, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're saying to me that the feeling that you had that was in fact like a sexual abuse was sort of the closest energy you could equate it to.
Okay. Yeah. Major violation.
They're saying this is something that we could do another time if you wanted to. They're saying it's not necessary for you to move forward, but if it is something of a curiosity for you, we could do a different session as well where, you know, I sort of take you back into that moment. You can take a look at it yourself and experience it and see what actually really happened. You can get those answers for yourself as well. Okay.
Okay. I'll have to think about that. Maybe scary.
Yeah, it's only if you really want to. If you feel like getting the information that you're getting today is enough, then great.
Yeah.
But if you find yourself in the next weeks or months still questioning and still asking, then maybe it would be worth it to do. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. We have just a few minutes left. Let me see if there was something specific that the guides wanted us to know.
Anything about my son?
Mm-hmm.
I know they can't read for him, but just, it's funny. Sometimes I find myself just so worried about him. And then other times I feel like he can handle it. I don't know. I know we've had lives together. I just feel it very strongly. But when I go through these, worried phases, which are more often than not, I worry that he's going to stay on this planet in this life just because of some of the things he's been through. I'm not sure if there's a way to check on him.
Okay.
I just worry about him.
Okay. So let's take a look at any information they can give us about him. They're showing him to me as a being who can break through the clouds. It's like he's in the storm right now. And every so often his head peeks up above the clouds. And he's able to see straight. He's able to see his path. But then he goes back into the clouds and then comes back up.
That's an apt description.
And when he does pop his head above the clouds, like it's almost like it's too bright. He can't handle the brightness yet. He has to get acclimated to it. And he will. He will get acclimated to it. He will be able to start seeing that taking those steps towards being out of the clouds is actually making him stronger and helping him.
Good to hear.
And the reason why it's important for you not to be involved in that healing process is because you are such a higher level being that when he's in your sphere, it's like you automatically clear those clouds for him. And it's beautiful and lovely and he likes it, but he can't sustain that on his own. He can only experience that when he's around you. When he's not around you, then he goes back into the clouds and he's not able to exist in that beautiful soft light space because your energy is like a soft light. When he goes above the clouds, it's a very harsh, very bright light that he is trying to get acclimated to. It's an extreme.
Okay.
Is there anything that she can do to assist him in any way? She's already done everything that she can. And moving forward, just sending him love and being there for him as a loving energy is all that he really needs right now. Okay. He's about to take a big step. It feels like he knows he has to take this big step on his own. And in the past, he's taken this big step before, but with help from other people or from other vices and various different things. But like this time, it's like he knows he needs to take this big step without any vices, without any help. And he needs to do it on his own. And he's getting ready to do it. It's hard to take that first step. I mean, as of now, I'm seeing that he's going to be able to do it.
That's good.
How old is he?
He's 30.
Okay. Angels, was that why you were giving me 45? Yes. Okay. So I'm getting like maybe by the age of like 45, he's going to be helping other people get through things like this.
Oh, that's nice.
Provided he continues on the path that he's on. Yeah. And it's not to say that he's not going to have setbacks and problems, but the overall trajectory looks like he's going in the right path. They want you to know that everything that you've done, either codependent or not, has actually helped.
Thank you. That's good to hear.
Yeah, they're saying you've done everything you can. Now just allow him to walk.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, that's good.
Wonderful. We are going to close the Akashic Records. I would like to thank Akula, my Akashic guide. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to Archangel Metatron and Archangel Sandalphon for being here as well, guiding us through the records and giving us all the information that we needed today. The records are closed. The records are closed. The records are closed. Thank you. Okay, how do you feel?
A little overwhelmed. This is honestly not the information I was expecting to hear at all, but I love it. It's going to be fun to re-listen to this and then percolate it for a while. It's really interesting. And it does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that I've always felt different, and a lot of people did not want to hear kind of what I had to say or the way I looked at things. They just couldn't relate. And I buried my exploration into, the energetic world for a long time.
Yeah.
But I think it was still running underneath. My soul was doing its thing, but I just had to get through all of this stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing how it helps me open to my new practice. Look at how I walk through the world.
Yeah.
A little differently now.
One of the things that my guides are telling me to tell you right now is if you ever feel stuck, just ask your angels and guides to show you the next step.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's all you need is you just need that next step. And that's it. Whatever that happens to be in whatever energy that is, then ask them for signs. Ask them to show you definitive signs and synchronicities that are going to be undeniable, that will guide you in the path for the next thing. Okay.
Okay.
Amazing.
Good. Oh, thank you so much. This was amazing.
You're very, very welcome. Thanks. Bye.
Take care.
I would like to thank Bernadette for her participation in the podcast and allowing us to record her session. This session created a lot of questions for me to ask my guides and the universe about how things really work when we incarnate. I had heard in the past that, for example, twin flames are simply previous versions of each other. So in other words, your twin flame may be a less evolved version of your soul, meaning that you would be incarnated at exactly the same time. And you might actually, in fact, interact and be in a relationship, but essentially you are in a relationship with a past version of your soul. And I always thought that was a very interesting concept. When I hear about these concepts, I have a tendency to not just grab onto them and believe them. I keep the information and just let it be. And then I gather more information and I allow the universe to give me more and more information until I can create a solid hypothesis on my own or a solid intuitive knowing, whatever it happens to be. And so with this session, it has allowed me to dive deeper into this idea that we do not incarnate linearly. A lot of people do, and I have seen this in most of my sessions where souls will incarnate linearly. And it is something that is done simply because it is easier from an energetic perspective. If you consider the fact that Earth herself has been ascending this entire time, along with humanity, that if you incarnate linearly, meaning chronologically in time, then you will be moving with the flow of the Earth and her ascension. Therefore, the more she ascends, the more we ascend, the more we ascend, the more she ascends. It's a symbiotic relationship in terms of the energy. But there are definitely souls who decide to incarnate in different orders. And you may decide to do that for various lifetimes. Maybe you don't do that for your entire trajectory of your soul, but you might do it on occasion. In the case of Bernadette, her job for her soul purpose is to bounce back and forth between times, to give knowledge, to gain knowledge, to open portals, to receive other information. Now, I'm going to address what opening portals exactly does. What it means is that she is creating a space that is thin between dimensions or between times to allow that information to come through. It's not like she drops the barrier entirely. It is creating a one-way passage from one time to the next. Most of the time portals are one way. Sometimes they can go both ways, but it just depends on the portal. So that information that she is gaining from whatever lifetime she was in, she is able to disseminate to a different dimension, a different time. In this particular situation where we went to the year 2410, she was gaining information from the ascended societies who were living in peace and calm and connectedness. And she was able to bring that information back to the prehistoric time. And even if the information isn't exact, it is the energy that is being disseminated. This brings up a question for me regarding when we receive this information. Does it simply mean that when we get communication from our spirit team or from our angels and guides or our higher self, is it really just beings from a different time that are coming back to a chronological past in order to show us the path of where we are going? When you think about the movie Interstellar and how Matthew McConaughey's character goes back to see his daughter when he goes through the black hole, that concept is pretty much exactly what I'm talking about here. He had information from the future and he was going back to the past chronologically to give his daughter that information. That is essentially what Bernadette is doing with her soul purpose. So angels, I do want an answer to that question, which is, when we get communication from you, is it really just other souls from the future? Is it really just us from the future that are giving ourselves the information? It is not entirely as simple as that. There are times when certainly the information you are getting is from a future version of yourself, or maybe a future version of somebody else that you know, or maybe a future version of an angelic. You have to consider that your brains can't understand how everything is happening at once, given the fact that you are so tied to time on this planet. You can understand that the messages you may be receiving right now can come from an elevated version of yourself that could be an angelic at this moment. So you might be getting a message from angelic version of you. You might be getting messages from somebody you know now in your experience. Let's say your mother. And your mother's soul, let's say, has ascended to an angelic status as well. That angel that is coming in to help you could be what you would consider future version of your current mother. There are so many different ways in which these energies can operate and communicate and disseminate information. There is almost no limit to the ways in which the information can be delivered and from whom the information is being delivered. Okay, what you're saying is that any of our angels and guides could technically be future versions of anyone we know, future versions of other souls that we've worked with on the other side. That is correct. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense to me. It is best to not think too much about it, because where the energy is coming from almost doesn't make a difference. It is the message and the energy that you are receiving that is the important piece. Okay. It's almost similar to when I have clients who sometimes come in and really, really want to know the time in which they were incarnated. So they want to know, oh, in this lifetime, was it, 1750? Like, what was the actual date that I was incarnated? Yes, those dates can be helpful for people. And in this particular case, to know that this lifetime was in 2410 was important for the entire narrative. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. When you're looking at a past life, the time frame doesn't really give you a lot of information. There are times when it can help for you to understand who you were, but unless it gives more information, most of the time my guides are not going to give me an actual date. Okay, so that brings me to the next aspect of this, which is, can a future timeline change? Of course it can. And I'm going to actually put in here as well that a past timeline can also change. By doing the work that we do, by creating the healing space that we do at this moment for various energies, it actually does have a ripple effect to the past as well as to the future. So the timeline that I saw for 2410 as of now, that is the current trajectory that the planet is on. Will that change? Likely. It will likely change because it's roughly, 400 years-ish in the future. And so that's a lot of time for the shift to be able to happen. Now, does that mean that the shift could actually be for the worse? The angels are saying to me that not exactly. It's not that it would shift for the worse. It could shift for the different, meaning that there could be different ways in which the outcome unfolds. The overarching message, which is in that particular time frame, there will be mass amounts of people who are awakened, who will be living together, who will be creating their own energetic and physical experience. Whereas you have other people who are not awakened and they will be living in their own created experience. And there are aspects of this that could shift and change. Maybe there will be more people who will be ascending. And so the percentage of people who are ascended and the percentage of people who are unawakened could be different. It could slide in either direction. The purpose of us knowing this information is understanding that where we are heading as a society is up to us. The ability to unite together and understand that we are all wanting the same things. We all want connection, love. We all want to feel safe and secure. And the people who are throwing judgment and hatred are people who are simply in their wounding and are afraid that these things will not come to them or that will be taken away from them. They are influenced by these lower energies that they have created. That is their reality. What we can do to move forward is to be able to be responsible for our own energy, make sure that we are doing things that are aligned for us, that are aligned with love. Always love. It doesn't matter what is happening. It doesn't matter who is in your face. It is about removing yourself from that situation and being able to remain in your space of love. Now, this doesn't mean that you emotionally bypass what you're feeling. As a human, you feel your feelings, of course, but do not contribute to the vitriol that is happening in this particular period of time we have on this planet. We do have the ability to change the future, and we do have the ability to change the past. What are you choosing to do right now? How are you choosing to spend your time? How are you choosing to spend your energy? Are you helping? Are you creating more problems? Are you in fight or flight? Are you in freeze? Are you unable to deal with whatever is going on in your life, let alone the world? Identify where you are without judgment. Just identify where you are and imagine a world that would be ideal to you. Maybe it's a world that is accepting of all people, of all cultures. Maybe it is a world that is wanting to help and lift up every single person on this planet, giving every single person on this planet an opportunity for education, for opportunity, for shelter, food, basic needs. Imagining a world that is open and loving and what that would look like and feel like. This is how we shift. This is how we shift into the future. We shift ourselves first. We don't shift others. We shift ourselves. By shifting ourselves, that is what creates the change. And then once somebody is in the energetic field of somebody who has created this change, it has an effect on the other person. So for example, in this session with Bernadette, we talked about how her son was affected by her energy and how her energy, just simply being in her energy, was helping him. And that is what I am calling every single one of you to do. Change your energy, work on your wounding, work on your own judgment, work on the judgment of yourself, work on your self-love, your self-worth, all of these things that are important for you to change and shift your energy into a higher vibration. This is how we move into this new earth. This is how we help wake up all of the rest of the people who are not awake yet. It is about embodying that frequency of love. The last thing I want to talk about is the subject that we covered with her childhood memory. The question is, when is it beneficial for us to uncover childhood trauma? And it is quite a simple answer. If it is something that continues to tap you on the shoulder over and over and over again throughout your life, where you just know that it's something that you need to know about, maybe even if you don't have a memory of it, but you keep on getting the nudge that it's something that is needing to be addressed, that is the time that you connect to somebody, a practitioner like myself, or anybody else who can help you uncover what that particular trauma was or what that memory was from childhood. If you have an inkling that maybe something happened when you were a child, but you do not remember it, but it doesn't come up in your energetic field all the time, you don't see it presented in various different ways in your experience, then let it be where it is. There's a reason why you don't remember it, and there's a reason why it's not affecting you in your energy field. Because maybe your soul was blocking that energy for you to be able to move forward without having that experience. Maybe you didn't need that experience. Maybe it wasn't an experience that you signed up for, and your soul is protecting you from that trauma. If that is the case, then that is likely something that you do not want to look at, that you can just let go and let it be in the past. Another good indication is if you are having health issues regarding said childhood trauma that might be in the back of your consciousness. If you're having health problems, that is certainly a time to start uncovering that trauma and start releasing that energy. It's all about connecting within and identifying the things that you need to work through. Now, of course, this is something I can help you with, but it's always much more beneficial if you can connect in yourself and identify, yes, this is something that I want to work through, or this is something I need to book a session and work through this with somebody. Always connect to your heart first. Even if you don't trust it, even if it doesn't make sense, connect to you first. Do not give your power away to everyone else to give you the answers. This is one of the more important reasons why I decided to develop Soul Discovery Workshop and why I was led to do that, is to allow those of you who are ready to start taking that power back and being able to connect into your own intuition so you can get those answers yourself. Now, that being said, of course, there are always blind spots. I have blind spots, so I do go to practitioners from time to time to connect to those places within myself that I might not be able to see. Just know that you have the power. Every single one of us has the power to change what is happening right now in this moment. Each one of us has the power to change from within. I want to thank you so much for joining me again this week, and I look forward to connecting with you next week.
If you're enjoying this podcast, it would be really amazing if you could like, share, and subscribe. Wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it's Apple or Spotify, feel free to give it a review if you feel called. If you are following me on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you are notified for every single new episode of the Akashic Recordings. If you feel called to book a session with me, you can always reach me at infinitesoullove.com, and you can book directly on my website. Thank you so much for all of your support, and I can't wait to connect with you next week.